Okay, welcome everybody. I just want to share a quick thought, and we'll get the show started. According to many Rishonim, there's a mitzvah of Zechiras Maimed Har Sinai. Now it's machlokes Rishonim exactly if it's a mitzvah, an essay, a leis essay, and that's a technical machlokes in Hilchas Minyan HaMitzvahs. You know what gets included, what doesn't get included. But in what the yesod of the mitzvah of Zechiras Maimed Har Sinai is, so this is something that many Sfarim say, and I just want to share with the story. In the Chafetz Chaim sent a letter to Dr. Shwed, and in it the Chafetz Chaim told him, first of all, since you're so concerned with the health of the yeshiva bachrim, you'd be happy to know that the bachrim are healthy, they eat well, they get fed 3 meals a day, they get time to exercise, to walk. You'll be happy to know that they're healthy. And then the Chafetz Chaim did a postscript. He said, Nichtav b'tzidei. He says, Vaad, you know this already, but I'm going to remind you anyhow. He says, the pasuk says, Kol hanegeya b'har mois yumas, v'kal v'chaymer b'Torah atzma. Chafetz Chaim gave Dr. Shwed a warning. He says, the pasuk says, Kol hanegeya b'har b'Har Sinai, mois yumas, kal v'chaymer b'Torah atzma. Now, what the Chafetz Chaim was expressing, and what the mitzvah of Zechiras Maimed Har Sinai is expressing, is that the Torah was given with a bren, with a vibrancy, with a lebedikkeit, the way that it's applicable always. And that's something that the Chafetz Chaim was highlighting to him, that the yeshivas is keeping going, and that's something that exists always. Now, a maimed like this, on Erev Shavuos, where we're gathering together to be makabel the Torah and to strengthen our commitment to halei be'esh nitna, and we have the perfect messenger, someone who lives with the Eish HaTorah in a very visible and constant manner, we should all be easy for us to be makabel the Torah with the Eish, with the Rav Shlita.
The Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos that when Klal Yisrael came to be makabel the Torah, the Eibishter took the mountain and took it on top of them and told them, "Mekabel es Torah mutav. If you're going to be mekabel the Torah mutav, and if not, shom tei kvuraschem. There will be your kvura." We learned all our lives that the har was on top of them, and the har would come down, and they would be buried under the har. In my Lashon Kodesh, that would be Paitei Kvuraschem. Shomtei Kvuraschem means there. So what does that mean, Shomtei Kvuraschem? One question. Tosfos asks a question, for what reason did we need Kafalei Ma'akegigis? Klal Yisrael answered clearly, Nasa v'nishma. They're ready to do and they're ready to hear, Mesiras Nefesh, whatever you'll tell me, I'll do. So what do you need? Kafalei Ma'akegigis. And Tosfos answers, Pen yachzru b'hem beroisam ha'esh ha'gedolah. Maybe there'll be charata when they'll see the Eish HaGedolah. It's contrary to what we would think. The Eish HaGedolah causes fear. Fear. So you'll be afraid to have charata. Yachzuru behem beroisam Eish HaGedolah. The opposite. The Eish HaGedolah will cause such fear, they'll say, yes, we're going to listen. We're not going to listen. So why do you need Kafalei Ma'akegigis? So we'll try to answer these questions and try to discuss a little bit more. What does Kafalei Ma'akegigis mean? Rashi says, Hagigis is a big barrel that you're making it sheikhad, you're making it beer, and was turned over on top of them. Okay, so he took a mussel, a gigas on top of them, and the gigas took them around. So if we realize that there were not only a har on top of them, the har was around them. The har was around them, gigas. They were inside the gigas, and the gigas surrounded them. That means they were enclosed in a different atmosphere completely. We know the Chavetz Chaim taught us that every invention is made to be mechazik Yiddishkeit. That's what inventions were made for. To learn. The Chavetz Chaim spoke about the telephone. The Chavetz Chaim spoke about a record. Things that you can learn. He didn't have today's inventions. Today's inventions teach us much more. One of the things that today's inventions teach you is that you can go up into space and there's no air, and you can live in a capsule and exist. Why? Because there's different air inside. What is that lesson to a person? What is the gadlus of learning Torah in a Beis Medrash? In today's day and age, a person can say, what do you mean? I'll learn much better at home. First of all, at home, I could listen to a shiur on the computer. And it's such a beautiful shiur. At home, I could relax. Nobody disturbs me. In a Beis Medrash, I can't take the pressure of so many people. Why do I have to go to a Beis Medrash for? And many people don't go to a Beis Medrash and sit at home and learn. There could be a very big taiva in learning at home. I'll bring it out with a story, a chinuch story, a moedik chinuch story. When the Rebbe, the Pnei Menachem, became Rebbe, when he started to be manning the Eidah, on the first day, the people walked by. The whole Olam walked by. There came a younger man with 4 children. A young man that learned by him. And he told them, by the first 2 you listened to me, by the last 2 you didn't listen to me. What listen? He didn't understand. And the Pnei Menachem told him, you were by me, I was Rosh Yeshiva, you were by me the day of the Chasana, and I told you should learn at home, that they should hear a Kol Torah in the house. The first 2 children you could see grew up in the house of a Kol Torah. The other 2 children, you didn't learn at home anymore, there was no Kol Torah. So there's a moedik taiva to learning at home. A Kol Torah. That depends on how you learn. You learn when a child hears, he wakes up in the morning, he hears his father learning. He goes to sleep at night, he hears his father learning. The Kol Torah is mashpia. It says in the Bartanura, in Ovis, Ashrei Yeladetei. Why? Because his mother brought him into Beis Knesset, they should hear the Kol Torah. It's mashpia on children, it's a moedik zach. That the Tanai is it has to be learned with a koil. Has to be learned with a gishmak, with a loudness. Hear the koil, wake up in the morning, hear the father learning. There's nothing better than that. But going to Beis Medrash has this moedik taiva. It says in Meiser Ekeach, the Meiser Ekeach was a Rav in Amsterdam in the time of the Gira. If any of you read ever Lehman's book, Avram ben Avram, you know that Rabbi Lozim Amsterdam was Rav in Amsterdam at the time when the Gira lived. And he wrote a sefer called Meiser Ekeach, a sefer nifla. One of the things it says in the sefer is that Beis HaMedrash is the numerical value of 961 of how many lukim there are in a mikveh, because the Beis Medrash is a mikveh tara. We understand the Gemara. The Gemara says, "Im pogachom menuvel zeh, mashcheyu leBeis Medrash." It doesn't say go learn. It says mashcheyu leBeis HaMedrash. Why? Because the Beis Medrash is a capsule. It's a different atmosphere. A different atmosphere. It's a different environment. The atmosphere in Beis Medrash is different. It maybe depends on what enters the Beis Medrash. I'll say over a story which there'll be people who will deny that it's true, but it's true. After 9/11, the government told the yeshiva here in town to put up barricades in front of the yeshiva to protection. They asked Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Zecher Tzadik V'Kodesh Levrach, if they should do it. Reb Chaim said, Torah doesn't need Agona. Chaim asked if the people in Yeshiva have telephones. And they said, yes, no, that's connected to the outside and there's no protection. That's why there were barricades. I don't know if the there are, but there were barricades. Because of this Maisa. So there's a certain Kedusha in the basic Knesset that has to be concealed, separated, its own avia. But that's the mile of a basic Knesset. It's its own avia, basic Medrash. You come into basic Medrash, you're learning in a different atmosphere. You're learning in an atmosphere of Kedusha. And that's Moshcheu the basic Medrash. That alone has a murdik, a toiva to a person, that he goes into a basic Medrash and learning in a basic Medrash. That's a murdik, a toiva. Kofa leim ha-kegigis means the Eibishter took us into a different atmosphere. And the Eibishter told them, Im atem mekavlem satoira mutiv, ve'im lav shom. You know what shom means? In the outside world, take v'uraschem. Not under a mountain. If you're not going to be able to kabel the Torah to be in your own atmosphere, you're going to realize that shom in the world outside, the world of Olam Hazeh, the world of everything, it'll be k'voraschem, you'll get buried there. So that's the eitzah of a Torah that should be. So the Eibishter said, we have to be kofel emakigigis. Toisa says, pen yachzurem bereisam eisha gedolah. If you figure out the numerical value of Eisha Gedolah, the numerical value of Eisha Gedolah is Satan. The Eisha Gedolah means the fire of the Satan. The Satan has a murdike koyach of Eish. A murdike koyach of Eish. I don't have to tell working in the light that there's Eish outside. Everybody knows it's Brenta fire in the gas. Everybody knows the fire. And if you'll see the fire of the Yetzer Hara, you'll say, I can't, I have to give in. The Eibishter said, I have to give you a place, a kofel, a makigigis, a mokum where you could go into a different atmosphere and regain your koiches. Regain your koiches to be able to say no to the Eisha Gedolah, to be able to see the bluff in the Eisha Gedolah, to be able to see that the Eisha Gedolah really is only a dimion. I said on Lag Baimer by Medura, and it was already 20 minutes later, it was already dying out. And the Eibishter gave me a murdik machshava, only a matana from the Eibishter, not to do with me. Every person has a job, the Eibishter sends him parnasa. Berov has a job, the Eibishter also sends him parnasa. He gives them what to say. So the Eibishter mishikta murdik matana. The tachlis of the Medura is not the fire. The tachlis of the Medura is to see the fire burnt like who knows what, and 20 minutes later it's not there. That's to teach you what the Yetzer Hara is all about. It's a big fire, and 20 minutes later it's not there, it's finished, it's not there, it's all dimion. It's all dimion. There was a mashgiach in Eretz Yisrael, Ab Godel Eisner. He was a mashgiach in Shivas Chodesh Hashem, and Adam Godel had a murdike koyach of understanding of Bacha. He explained, what does it mean the Yetzer Hara is a dimion? What does it mean the Yetzer Hara is a dimion? He said there was a town that was making a show of somebody fighting a lion. They hung up signs. Nobody wanted to come. There was a Yid, only ve'evian, he had nothing to lose in this life. He had no food, he had nothing. He decided, if I'll go from the world, no. If I have money, I'll come back. He came, and they put him on a suit of a leopard or of a different animal and go inside and fight the lion. Understandably, he came inside, the lion came against him, and he didn't know what to do. The lion also screamed Shema Yisrael. Because it wasn't a lion, it was also a person. Das ist die Yetzer Hara. Das ist die Yetzer Hara. Murdike moshel. There lies a nerdik in the kud in the moshel. Then the kud in the moshel is that if you're going to scream Shema Yisrael, the Yetzer Hara is going to scream also Shema Yisrael. He's going to give in. He's also going to give in. He also knows, if you're going to realize that it's kulei bluff, if you're going to realize he's only dimion, he's going to go in with you. He didn't become part of you, but that's our Vaad. How do you see the demionis of the Yetzirah? You see the emes of Torah. The emes of Torah shows you how the Yetzirah is dimion. Torah is nitzchias. The biggest weapon that we have in this world, is the following story that I'm going to tell you. There was a Yid that's missing in today's generation. His name was Rabbi Yoel Plutchok. Rabbi Yoel Plutchok was a moedike mensch. Rabbi Yoel Plutchok grew up in Budapest. Budapest existed till 1944. His mother had children in Budapest in the 40s. When the Nazis, Yimach Shmam B'zichram, took them, his mother was Mu'beres. She came into Auschwitz in 1944 on Mu'beres. The only reason she was living is because she was a Mu'beres, and the Risham Yimach Shmam Center for tests, Kedaima. The child didn't live, but she lived through the war, and that's chus that she was a Mu'beres. Shraitz Rabbi Israel, I asked my mother, how did you have children in the middle of the war? You know there's a war outside, you know they're going to get killed. How did you have children? His mother answered him, it's printed more than once in his Svarim, Pekei Machshava. You would give a likrim, it's printed other places. His mother answered him, if it's a tshuva that should never leave your minds. His mother answered him, once I brought down a child to this world, that child is nitzchi. That child is a nitzchiistic child. He's going to get up in Tchis HaMesim, it's nitzchiis. What the Eibshter does with him afterwards is not my problem. I did mine. I brought down nitzchiis to the world. Amuna, but it's a moedike limud. A Yid is nitzchi. What is the Yetzirah telling us? Nitzchias. He's telling us something that doesn't last more than 5 minutes. He's telling us something that doesn't last more than a few minutes. But you have to remind yourself that you're nitzchi. You have to remember that you're nitzchi. Torah, you learn the Torah Kedosha, which is nitzchias. It gives you to remember who you are. It connects you back. It gives you back the connection to realize that a Yid is nitzchias. And I'm not going to sell my nitzchias for stupidities, for narishkeiten, for Elam Hazeh, for a few minutes of nothing. That's the avoid of a Yid. That's what Torah does. And Befrat Torah and Besmedrish, the connection to an atmosphere of Kedusha, an atmosphere of Hechikkeit. That's our avodah. The Taisa says, "Pen yachzru be'em roisam esha g'dayla." There's another pshat. There's a sefer from the Seder Aveda. In the back of the sefer, he writes a pshat that's neir va'ayim. Pen yachzru be'em, when they'll realize what the Eibshter is asking from them, with what kind of fire I want you to be my avadim. With what kind of fire I want you to do after Hashem. They were masking to listen to the Torah of Nasav and Ishma. But pen yachzeru b'rehem, maybe they'll have charata b'roisam, and they'll see what fire the Rebbeinu Shalom is asking of them. It's not enough to daven. It's not enough to learn. No, it's a learning that has a fire to it, an eisha gedoyla to it. And that's pen yachzeru b'hem. Maybe they'll have charata, and the Eibshter forced them to that. To kofalei makigigus, to realize that you have to accept the eisha gedoyla. You have to accept the Torah should be learned with a fire. Torah should be learned with an eish. The Torah should be learned with a koch, with a bren. Torah is fire. It says in the Torah, eish dos lamei. It says in the Torah is fire. It's a fire that turns on a fire in a person. It's a fire that cleanses the person, a fire that lights of neshama in a person. The Mishnah says in tomorrow's Perek, in Shabbos Perek, Umachsharta Elias Tzadik. What does it mean, Machsharta Elias Tzadik? In your day, Chelik Beis, there's Hilchas Hechsher Kelim. If you have a Keli that has a Blia, if you have a Blia B'chamen, you have to make Agola B'chamen. If it has a Blia B'eish, you have to make Libun. Libun Kal, Libun Chomer. Dr. Rab Chaim Velozhin and Nefesh HaChaim, Machshartoi. Torah is the Hechsher Kelim. Torah burns out from you everything that went into you. It takes it out with hot. It takes it out with Eish. It cleanses the person, Torah. But you have to learn it with Eish. You have to turn on the fire. You have to turn on the fire. Torah darf gelernt werden mit der Koch, mit der Brenn. There was a Magichir in Tevedas, Rabbi Simcha Sheps, Zechrein Levracha. He came to America before the war. He was the first one who brought all the brisket Torah to America, all the stencils. He came to Tevedas, he was a Magichir in Tevedas. He came to Tevedas the first day. He said, in Mir, where he learned, you couldn't hear yourself. You had to scream. And here it's so quiet. He didn't understand why it's so quiet in Besmedish. Came lunchtime, there was a basketball court outside, and he heard the screaming. He said, oh, here the Besmedish is outside. The chiyus has to be inside, not outside. The eish, the bren, the koch, the living, the brennen Torah, the brennen Yiddishkeit, the brennen davening, that's what's missing. The Eish HaGedolah. Eish HaGedolah, there's no bigger chinuch to a child when he sees a father koching in Torah, bothered by a kasha, asking a kasha, living in Torah, davening with a bren, davening to take a little bit of a koyach in him. That's our avodah when it comes Shavuos, to have a shaykhis to the Eish HaGedolah, to the fire of Torah, to the koch of Torah, to the bren of Torah. That's the biggest shmirah that we have. The bren of Torah burns out the Yetzer Hara. The bren of Torah takes away other fires. It's a hard world, a very hard world. But if we learn Torah in the morning, you learn Torah at night, that gives you the ability to withstand the nisyonos, to say no to the Yetzer Hara. I'm going to end with a word which I think every person has to carry around with himself. We suffer the most from Yush. The Yetzer Hara is a mumcha in telling us our chesroinus, in telling us we fell through your lost case. You're a lost case. And I want to tell you something that you should use when you talk to children or when you talk to teenagers that complain that they did this wrong, they did this wrong. Remember that when you say one time yes, you don't lose the 9 times that you said no. You only said 1 time yes, but 9 times you said no. Those 9 times that you said no have such a cheshivas by the Eibishter. So don't lose yourself and say, I throw in the towel, I said yes. But 9 times you said no, or 100 times you said no, and then you fell into that yes, go back and say again no. You have so much koich to yourself. You said 99 times no. That no never gets lost. And if you realize that no never gets lost, you never have despondence, you never have years, because you know what you could build on. You could build on that no that you said no, and that you were misgamer on the Yetzer Hara once and twice and 3 times and 4 times. And that gives you the koich to withstand further and to be able to be gover on the Yetzer Hara.
This is the first time the Rav is hearing these questions. This is fresh. Okay. We live in a time and place, especially here in America, where great emphasis on kavod is given to Balei Tzedakah. Is there anything wrong with that? Is there a way that we should try to convey to our children to be machshav gedolei Torah or lemdei Torah as opposed to Balei Tzedakah and other such gvirim or chedema?
Kavod to Balei Tzedakah is something that Chazal teach us. Chazal, Jewish Rashba, everybody knows the Mekayres. But at the end of the day, the reason why the Zeb's covered is because he's machzik Torah. Because he's toimach Torah, not because he has money. It's because he's toimach Torah. And if we bring that out to our children, that the cover that he's getting is not because he has that much money and he has that much chosim. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with fakir. What he doesn't have, what he gives away from himself, then they don't look at it up, that's the objective in life. The danger that you're saying is a very big danger. That children have a conception that this is the ultimate and that's what I have to grow up to be. And it looks like that's the spitz, and that gives the child the wrong objective in life. It's 100% true. But if you teach him that the reason he's getting covered is not because of what he has, he's getting covered of what he's giving away, and what he realizes to give away for Torah, and the covered is for that, then you're protecting your child at least to understand that it's not Doilam Hazard is getting covered for, it's for his Mesirah to get covered for. If they're all said and done, you have to teach a child that the covered of a Talmud Chacham is still greater. It's still greater. It's still greater. That even though he has a koyach to be machzik Torah and he's going to have Elam Haba for it and everything, but a Talmud Chacham is still greater than that. That message has to be given over to our children, and that message has to be given over, I think, in every maimed that children see, that they bring out the godless of Tmichas HaTorah. It has to be stressed that the Torah itself is greater.
Is there a way, like an eitzah or advice that the Rav has for conveying that on a daily basis at home? Chshivas HaTorah, Chshivas V'leim De Torah, aside from learning at home, like the Rav was talking about.
So, what do we discuss at the table? Discuss at the table, this one bought a new house, this one goes with a new car, or this one finished Shas. That's the eitzah. Depends what the discussion at the table is. If the discussion at the table is about somebody that was masik ruchnias, then the child gets the message. If the discussion at the table is, they want fixed over the house, that one did that, and then the child gets the message that that's what's important. It's from the sichas chuln of mother and father, that's where a child sees what's important. And I'll make another very important ha'ara. A 3-year-old has a lot of moyach and a lot of yediyah. A 3-year-old is like a memory on a computer. And what he puts in when he's 3, he could take out when he's 12 and 14 and 18. And many of us make a mistake that the 3-year-old is playing on the floor with his toys, and I talk on the telephone, and the 3-year-old is not listening to my conversation, and I could talk whatever I want. I know from fact that the child hears, and the child stores it, he doesn't know what it means. But when he comes 12, when he comes 14, he can repeat it and know exactly what he heard and exactly what he meant. So we can't talk in front of children and think, hey, he's only a 3-year-old, he's busy with his toys. He's not going to hear what I'm saying, he doesn't know what I'm saying. It's not true. Everything registers, everything goes into his memory. And when he's older, he pulls it out of the memory card and he remembers, this, that. So we have to remember that, not to make comments in front of children, not to talk things that are not appropriate in front of children, and realize to be oimid on the future, but that it's going to damage a child.
The Rav mentioned the inyan of giving tzedakah b'rabim versus b'tzina, the Chuvas Rashba. Is there a
Chuvas Rashba doesn't say you should give tzedakah b'rabim.
So that's what I wanted to ask.
There's no such Chuvas Rashba. The Chuvas Rashba said that you're mefarsim and I said tzedakah. You can be mefarsim, I said tzedakah. You have to know if the person wants it, if the person doesn't want it. You're not allowed to do it if the person doesn't want it. If there's a maila in tzedakah b'tzina, there's zicher a maila in tzedakah b'tzina. Rather, to give tzedakah b'tzina, and a person should give tzedakah b'tzina. And the more a person stays under the radar, and the more a person stays under the ground, the more a person is matzliach, and the more a person sees nachas, and the more the person has a yocheres to overcome everything. Person is the greatest mazik that there is. Person is the greatest mazik there is. There's no greater mazik than person. You should know that. And people that let themselves become a farsa is a darg of Messias Nefesh Mitzidam.
Is there ever a time that it's worth giving it a person?
It could be.
Does the ends justify the means ever?
The ends justify the means. It depends on how much you're ready to give up of an emes. If you mean it l'shem shemayim, then the ends justify the means. If you mean it for ulterior motives, then it doesn't justify.
Okay, and for a person who working takes up the bulk of their time, and there's a limited time when they could learn, sometimes their work even has to follow them home, they have to take a call or answer an email. Are they practical ideas to convey that? I guess we kind of covered this, to convey the ikr to the children, that even if it's a half hour, the learning is the important part.
Says in Gemara, most working people think that this Gemara has nothing to do with them. I will say over Sasamas, it's either in Bahar or in Bechukosei. Where a person could work 3 hours and learn 1 hour, and it's Malachte Ara in Teras Chokva. It's contrary to what everybody says, but that's the Mitzias. It depends what the Ikar of your life is, it depends what your emphasis is, it depends what you machshav. A person can learn a half hour a day and work 10 hours a day, and that half hour should be kva, and his 10 hours should be alay. It depends on how he looks at it, and how you convey that message to children. You convey that message to children by telling them and by showing them that every minute that they have, you're ready to give away. Now I'm going to tell a very practical answer to everybody. There's a young man that davens by me, doesn't daven, he comes to Shurim. A Svardish young man. He works in a top firm. From COVID and on, he works probably at home mostly. What's the difference? He works a good 8 hours a day. I gave him an eitzah. The eitzah is something I said before already, but I gave him an eitzah. Every 2 hours, he should stop and learn a Mishnah. Takes 3 minutes. 4 minutes, with article, with whichever elucidated Mishnah you'll learn. 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 times a day. We all know Reb Chaim Shalev is 12 and 12 is not 24. 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is not 8 hours. You're not working 8 hours, you're working 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. This is how Reb Chaim Shalev. It doesn't only work that way, it works this way also. The Yid told me Sunday that he's making tonight a Siyam Seder Moyed, 2 years. Him and his friends are making a Siyam Seder Moyed. He told me he never believed he could do it. He believed it'll peter out. After 2.5 years, he's making a Siyam Seder Moyed. No? How long does it take? It doesn't take anything away from business. Nobody could say that I can't do it. Make a quiz, 2 hours. 3 times a day. You separate the hours. Mishnah. Your life will change. Your life will change. The Imam told me his life changed. He was an andere Mensch. The shikua in business is not the same. You realize that that's what I'm looking up to. It's a different world.
And again, to people who have limited time, and maybe this is not a one-size-fits-all answer, but for someone who has limited time to learn, are there specifically mudim that are recommended, important?
Mashaliba chofetz.
Halach l'maisa.
Mashaliba chofetz.
Okay.
Except something that's above his madrege. Even if it's liba chofetz.
Can you elaborate?
Elaborate what 3/4 of the world learns. Kabbalah, Hashkafa, Machshava, whichever name you want to give it. Leave that alone. What's in your range of knowing. What belongs to you. What belongs to you. That means Gemara, Chumash, Mishnayos, Halacha. That's it.
And there's no priority. There's
no priority. Mashaliba chofetz. That's where he learns. They learn Chazal. The person should learn Mashaliba chofetz.
Okay, and this is a general question. As the summertime is approaching, in many working offices and environments, that we are exposed to things that we wouldn't be exposed to in the gigas of Har Sinai. What's some practical hadracha eitzes, the various seirus that the Rav could share with the Ilum?
I'm going to answer what people are not going to like when I answer, but that's the truth. If you're working in a place that it's impossible for you to be gave on a sign, you're not allowed to work there. There's no two ways about it. If you can't be gave on a sign, there's no way for you to be gave on a sign. And there are such places. There are such places because, one, yen is a chatzufa. That's number one. Yen is a chatzufa. And there's no way you could run. We're not made out of iron. We're made out of blood and flesh. Nobody's made out of iron. Not by 20, not by 60, not by 80. I told a young man once. I asked him if when he goes through by the airport if it rings. So he asked me, why should I drink? I He said, because you act like you're made out of metal, not like you're made out of flesh. So if you act like you're made out of metal, it should ring when you go through. A person has to know he's made out of blood and flesh, and he's a human, and a human cannot withstand certain nisyanis. There's no way in the world. I'll tell you a mice when Heilige Satmarov. The Satmarov asked a certain Yid, the Yid is another Maimos, I can't say his name, asked the Yid if he goes on a Bcheskel, his bosses to 47th Street. He made buses to go to 47th Street. And he asked him if he uses the buses. He says, it goes on the train and says, shut him nicht. You know what that means? It doesn't damage him. The Satmar hat ihm geämpft, man darf a Sach over seine Sonne schatten. Man darf a Sach over seine Sonne schatten. It's true. A person could say, me it doesn't touch. Avada, well, the house chain, a lot after it. There's no such thing in the world. There's no such thing. We're humans, and we have to watch ourselves.
The Rav spoke in the speech about the milas of learning at home, the online shiurim that are available, and all the, maybe that's mashali b'chavetz, versus learning a shir, a chavrusa, and a bismedrash. Is there a practical hadracha that the Rav could share on that?
I didn't say learning online at home is a eitzah, because I said learning ala koil is a eitzah. When you learn online, you don't learn with the koil.
Okay. Is there value to
There's a value to learn at home. The child should hear father learning. There's a value to learn in Bismadish because you can be learn a different atmosphere. And there's a mokum for both. I'll tell you, the pshara, which is also a very important zach. We grew up in a generation of people who worked. When I was a youngster, 90% of the oilam worked, and worked hours that none of us work. 10 hours, 12 hours a day, worked hard. And they weren't able to learn in the middle of the week too much. But all of these Yidden got up Shabbos morning, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and sat and learned. All of them. You can ask their children, that's what left the Roshim by them. They heard their father learning Medrash Shabbos in the morning. They heard him being Mabaseder. They heard him saying Tillim in the morning. That way you can go, all we can learn in Bismadish, Shabbos in the morning, get up 2 hours before davening and learn at home. Good pshara. Good pshara. There's no shurim available. That's right. Achofa nicht.
Okay. Yashikayach. Thank you.
Alechtige Yomtiv.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.